What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast in the car, because we are on our way to...
It's been a little while since we've done a podcast in the car.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
My name is Josh.
And my name is Taylor.
This is Travel with Josh and Taylor, the travel podcast. I think the last one that we actually did in the car was when we were in Scotland.
I think so. Yeah. So we've done some other Patreon exclusive episodes in the car. If you'd like to listen to those, you can join our Patreon community. We do exclusive podcasts, little snippets here and there. We try to do some live ones when we're on, live, I say, while we're on trips. We'll do some extra ones. But we are kind of on a trip right now. Or about to be.
We are on a trip right now, or are about to be. So this week we are setting sail on Symphony of the Seas from New Jersey. This is the first time that we've ever sailed this far north.
Yeah.
We are almost always sailing out of Florida, obviously a few times out of Alaska.
Yeah.
Or Seattle, sorry, not out of Alaska, but out of Seattle on the West Coast. But yeah, so this is our first time. And we're pretty excited. But we are heading into New York City, actually, tomorrow.
We are. We have not been to New York City since we were in college. We went on like a little bus trip. I believe that was with my school. No, it was with yours.
It was mine.
It was with Josh's college.
Your school's bus broke down.
Yeah, my college was going on a bus trip to New York City quite literally the same day that Josh's school did. And some of my friends ended up going on the one with my school, but the bus broke down before they even left. So they didn't get there until like the evening and really didn't have a day in New York City like we did. So it actually kind of worked out for us. Plus the bus trip was shorter because Josh's school was closer to the border of Pennsylvania and New York, so.
Or the city.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to start the podcast here posing a little question, which is, it's been making the rounds on the internet. When is it okay for you to recline your seat on an airplane? I just thought that this was really funny. There's been a few news articles. I don't know if you guys out there listening know this, but there are people who are specialists in etiquette. So, that to me, when I hear that, I think of like kind of the British style of like plates, Chinaware, and how you sit at the table.
I'm thinking Princess Diaries, your head is strapped to the back of the chair and you have to...
Right, exactly.
This is etiquette.
Things like that. So these people specialize in these types of things, and of course, like, they weighed in on this. I'm just curious on what you guys think, because in my opinion, right, you're on a plane, and if the seat reclines, then in my opinion, you are more than welcome to recline that seat whenever you want.
I completely agree.
I
always have.
I don't think that it's very fair for the person behind you to be kicking your seat or trying to push it forward or anything like that. Like, if you don't want somebody impeding your space, then you have to spend the extra money to sit in first class.
Or Comfort Plus, or the extra legroom seats, whatever airline you're on, if they offer those.
Yeah, I mean, and I get it too, that like, I don't get it. I mean, I see people saying from the other side, it's kind of rude to recline your seat. You're in economy. And when you pay for an economy seat, you're paying a substantially less price than first class.
Yep.
And that comes with certain things of being completely and totally uncomfortable for the entire flight. I mean, that just is what it is.
That's how it is.
And before somebody's like, well, you guys probably fly first class. Like, we don't.
We've flown first class twice.
Yes.
And once was because we were able to upgrade our tickets. And the other time was because we were going to Alaska and Disneyland all in one trip. And it actually was like roughly the same price for us to just buy a first class ticket that included more baggage versus paying for just one extra bag per person.
Right. So yeah, we sit in economy literally all the time.
Yep. On many different airlines.
When we went to Scotland, we were in economy on Iceland, and it was awful. But again,
it wasn't awful, but we've definitely been in better.
I just think, it's just funny to me that people feel like they have this entitlement that you can't recline your seat. But it's an economy. The seat's made to recline. So,
If somebody reclines in front of me, I don't care because the seat is made to recline.
I mean, I have
to just deal with it.
It's just one of those things that, like, you have to...
You have to expect it. Expectations.
Right. That is something we always talk about. You do need to just expect it. It's part of that flight. Like, it's just part of that experience, whether it's good or bad. It's something that you have to expect. So I'm just curious what everybody else out there thinks. Obviously, I don't like when somebody reclines their seat in front of me, but it is what it is. So,
but he's reclining his seat into the person behind him.
Exactly.
So it's just like
exactly
that's how it is.
And I do understand too where some people are a little upset when it's like a 2-hour flight, but at the same time, again, if you don't want somebody reclining right into your face, you got to spend extra money. And if you can't spend the extra money,
sorry,
we almost never spend the extra money because it's expensive. That's just what we get.
Yep.
So, I just kind of thought that was interesting. I've been reading a lot of like just travel stuff of, what's been going on around the world and whatnot. And I think each podcast I'm going to try and pose kind of like a new, not necessarily controversial question, but
like
just
travel type question.
Because I just think it's interesting to let us know what you think. So,
man, we're just having a beautiful drive today. The clouds are so pretty. I hope you can you can see them like a little bit through the windows, maybe in the corners, just depending how Josh has to crop this because this is like a full sensor or whatever. But man, I love a blue sky with big fluffy clouds.
Yeah, it is a pretty nice day.
And we're spending it in the car.
But we are on our way to New Jersey. So we're staying near Newark International Airport, basically right beside it. And we're going to be training into New York City tomorrow, spending the day doing kind of like a one-day itinerary to see as much as we can before coming back, and then getting on Symphony of the Seas at Cape Liberty for...
Going back to our hotel.
Yeah. But we'll be getting on Symphony of the Seas at Cape Liberty for a 7-night Bohemian cruise.
Yes, and we're going to be doing at least one thing, if not a couple things, that we have never done before on this cruise. So we are pretty excited. I don't want to spoil it. I just want you to see it when it comes out in the videos because it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We just wrapped up our Disney Cruise Line series. And we do have one more video coming out, which is going to be kind of a review of the Disney Wish and our thoughts and opinions on that. Obviously, again, I think it's always really funny when people really rip into you on your thoughts and opinions of a cruise or of a review, whatever, right? I mean, we've dealt with this for a long time, especially with the dining reviews that we used to do.
Oh yeah.
But the thoughts and opinions, there are our thoughts and opinions. Right? There are things that we find that are important to us. Things that are important to you might be different, and that's perfectly fine and okay. But if you're watching it and you feel like you have the same things that are of importance, then maybe it'll apply more to you. If you don't think that, then that's totally fine.
I didn't really read any of the comments or anything, so...
Well, I haven't posted it yet. I just meant, I posted that celebrity review that we did, because, it wasn't really that great. It was also a 4-night itinerary, wasn't it? Or was it 5?
No, I don't remember.
I think it was 4 with only one stop.
Yeah, we had one port day. Yeah, because there was that girl that lied and said she got left behind, and I commented on her stuff and I saw it on TikTok and was like, honey, we were on the same cruise as you. We had one port day. You did not get left behind and then fly to the next port.
And then got blocked.
Social media, you are such a liar. Actually, you commented.
I did that.
Because I didn't want to get blocked.
Yeah. I did that, and then she blocked me.
I have some cheese sticks I need to finish.
So, yeah, we've got that wrapped up, except for the last video, and then we've got our National Park series coming out after that.
Yes, from Utah.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to put a lot of work into that. It actually has led to a little bit more of an in-depth kind of thing for us of trying to really figure out how we're going to do videos and what we're going to do with those videos. I can't hold it over there. My arm's starting to hurt. So
that's okay. I can hold it. I'm not driving.
But yeah, so I'm gonna have to put a lot of work into them just because there's not a lot of talking heads. There's a lot of POV.
It's hard to do talking heads when you're hiking, especially with a lot of other people because they don't necessarily want to stop. There was a group of us that went, and now they did stop for us to take, like, breaks from climbing up stairs and hills and, the mountainsides, basically. But basically you had your break, got a drink of water, and then everybody's like, okay, let's go. And we're just like, oh. And I don't like to get far behind because I'm not as quick as Josh, who can just run and catch up with everybody. So, yeah. So it was a little bit of a struggle, definitely, for video-wise. But Josh always makes the videos turn out so well. I don't think he gives himself enough credit sometimes.
I mean, we'll see.
They're going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. They should be fine, but...
the scenery was beautiful, though, so it's going to be lots of picturesque stuff.
Yeah, it was, I mean, very reminiscent of when we did our California trip, and even Vegas before that, when we went and saw the Grand Canyon, the west rim of the Grand Canyon. So
we went to the north rim of the Grand Canyon on this trip.
Yeah, so eventually we'll have to go to the south rim. So
I guess so.
The trifecta.
We didn't go to Horseshoe Bend either, and I did really want to go there. And we should have sucked it up and went there on that last day.
Yeah, it was funny. We got into this trip last minute. I think I can't remember if we've really talked about this or not. I know we've talked about it on Patreon
for sure.
But we kind of came into the trip a little bit last minute. My brother and his girlfriend and their friends had been planning this whole thing together, and I think we kind of got brought in around Christmas time, which is about 5 months before. Yeah. And they had really no itinerary plan other than, like, here are the parks that we want to go to, but nothing else other than that. And so we kind of came in, and Taylor really defined an itinerary for everybody, which was great, because if there wasn't one, more than likely we all would have, we wouldn't have been, but they would have been scrambling to figure out what the heck they were going to do. So, with that being said, though, it was just a lot of, it was hard to really, come up with, substantial talking head pieces in the moment while we were there, because you're just kind of walking around and you're trying to take in the scenery. Yeah. You're trying to find some decent hikes to go do that aren't super long, but also aren't really short. Just
wait, though. The first video, Josh didn't have his headphones on when he was editing some of it this morning before we left.
Oh, yeah.
And I was on my computer and I just start hearing something and I look over and I'm like, what was that? And he just smirks at me, and I'm like, can you rewind that and let me hear that again? This little brat ran up ahead of us so that we couldn't hear him talking.
Well, I wanted to have everybody
about us.
Behind me.
Yeah, well, we were behind you, so it's going to be a good first, intro of how things went. But we did really like the hike that Josh ended up picking out. It was hot, but it was good.
Yeah. So we've got that coming up, and then of course after that we'll break right into this series on the symphony before this will hopefully carry over into somewhat of July, where we're going to be gone for almost the entire month of July, just traveling back and forth and all over the place, doing our group cruise from Iceland and finishing in the UK. Yep. And then we'll be doing a little GoldCon or a Goldgell Getaways convention. Yep. So if you guys are interested in booking a vacation, doesn't cost you anything extra, you can head on over to goldgellgetaways.com and start planning that tomorrow. Probably not today when you submit it, because it gives us a little time to get things in order, right? But, yeah. So, man, what else? What else should we talk about?
Yeah, so if you didn't notice, we don't necessarily have an actual topic for today. We wanted to make sure that we could get a podcast out to just kind of, obviously what we've just done, overview the things that we have been doing, and then kind of tell you what's coming up next. We have got a lot of really exciting excursions coming from our Northern Europe trip, which Josh said is our group cruise. We have a couple stops in Iceland. We have a couple stops in Norway. which is going to be really exciting because we have only been in Iceland at the airport for connections. So we've never actually been there. However, when we were flying in, I'll have to see if I can find pictures of it. We could see like the smoke and like lava in the distance from the volcanoes that were erupting the last time we connected there. But yeah, we're going to have a lot of really good excursions. We have stuff planned for like every day of the trip. We do have 2 sea days, and this is on the Norwegian Prima, which is an absolutely beautiful ship. We did get to sail on a short 3-night sailing. Or was it 2 nights? I think it was only 2 nights.
I think it was only 2 nights.
It was just like a preview for travel agents and like crew members and their families. So we did get to see it, but I felt like we didn't get to fully experience the Norwegian Prima. And we've got some specialty dining booked. So I'm really excited to get back on this, literally my favorite ship I think I've been on, just with the layout. Deck 8, that's where you'll find me if you don't know where I'm at.
Yeah. So another thing, I kind of been wanting to incorporate a little bit of more travel news as well, which was, talking about that whole thing with
reclining the seats.
Reclining the seats. And speaking more about airlines, so we flew Iceland Air out to Scotland and back in April. We're going to be flying Iceland Air to Iceland for this cruise, and we booked our return flights through Norwegian with their BOGO offers because, I think we only spent like $600 or $700 in total, so that's like about $350 per person.
Which is really good out of London Heathrow because those flights right now are so expensive.
One-way flights were $2,000 per person, so we got it for $350 per person. Yeah. So, I mean, the savings are incredible. But I just bring that up because I think one of the things that everybody really struggles with are layovers. And I was reading this really great article in Travel and Leisure about Iceland Air and how they are trying to expand to a lot of smaller cities throughout the U.S.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of stopovers.
They are doing a lot of all of their flights from the U.S. will stop in Reykjavik. And that's, you might be like, well, I'd rather fly direct, and I get that. But those direct flights can be really expensive sometimes. They could be very difficult to find, right? And the thing with Iceland Air is that they actually brag that they have some of the shortest layover times, that 99% of all of their passengers make their connecting flights. And when I mean shortest connections, we're talking 45 minutes or less. So you might be stressing it out, but Reykjavik is very small.
Super small.
And the way that they've got that place organized is unreal.
All the terminals are super close together.
Everything's super close together. They are loading multiple planes outside, too. Yeah. So they'll bus you to the plane. It's not like a long bus ride, but they'll bus you out to the plane. You get on the plane, everything. Like, it was pretty smooth while we were there making those connections. So, and I just thought that was interesting because they are now looking to expand their fleet to longer haul flights. So basically being able to go all the way from Iceland directly to California.
Oh, wow.
And if you guys don't know, Iceland has a really great program that they're running right now, which is where, let's say you book a round trip flight or even a one-way, I think, to somewhere in Europe on Iceland Air from the U.S. When you get to Reykjavik, you actually don't have to get onto that next connection right away. They have a great program where I think you can get off and spend a couple days in Reykjavik.
I want to say it's up to 7 days or something.
Yeah.
It's called a stopover, and you just book that in with your flight. It doesn't cost you anything extra.
Right. It's included, which is really nice because then you have extra time that you can go and spend in Iceland if you want to. Rather than having to kind of book a flight to Iceland and then spend the time there and then book another flight from Iceland to Europe or whatever, however you're doing it, it works out really well. So, we're going to see how much time that we spend or how much we get to actually see in Iceland while we're there because we're flying in a few days early.
Yeah, we're going to get there on the 1st and we don't get there, we don't go on the cruise until the 4th.
4th, yeah.
So we have pretty much 3 full days. Our flight gets in at 6:30 a.m. on the 1st. Right. And we're not those people that go back to your hotel and try and sleep and catch up on that. We have found it best that you just get off the plane and you just keep on going and you don't go to bed until that night, because then it helps you get on a better sleep schedule. And we always take like a Benadryl or NyQuil or Advil PM or whatever I happen to have in my bag, or if I don't have anything, whatever we can get at the pharmacy. Take that the first night so that you sleep the whole way through, and then the next night you're like pretty much on that time zone sleep schedule.
Yeah, it's I just thought it was interesting, especially when you're talking about pricing of flights, because they are really expensive. And I think we did Scotland. I think it was like $1,400 round trip for both of us. So that wasn't per person. That was in total. So yeah, I just thought it was an interesting kind of like little tidbit of just the airline trying to expand to some of these smaller cities rather than doing the bigger ones. I like, you know, when they say like bigger, like major hubs, we're talking like Atlanta, Miami, JFK,
basically
Boston.
If you want a nonstop flight somewhere in the U.S., you have to fly from JFK or Atlanta
to Europe. Yes,
to Europe.
Yeah. So, like Iceland, they just expanded to Pittsburgh. They've now expanded to Portland, Maine. So our friends Caitlin and Tyler, if they wanted to go to Iceland as a direct flight and not have to drive all the way to Boston or something, you know, they could fly out of Portland now. So it's pretty interesting, and it's just really nice to see some extra little competition for some of the major airlines, keeping those prices down, even if it's with Iceland Air and it's not really like, you know, it's like Spirit of international flights.
It's nicer than Spirit, but you could think along those lines.
Absolutely.
For prices and what's included, because there's no food or drink included. Well, were drinks included?
Water, that was it.
Oh yeah, just plain ice water. But there was no drinks, no food, nothing included. You could pre-order stuff or you could get stuff when you were on the plane. We did end up getting food on our flight home from Scotland because we knew we weren't going to be eating for like a long time. But yeah, that's what kind of stinks, because most of the other major airlines these days include food, especially when you fly overseas. If it's a certain amount of hours, they will include full meals on your flights. We've experienced that with Delta, Virgin, Turkish Airlines, Air France. I think that's it that we've flown overseas so far. But yeah, they include full meals, like dinner and breakfast, plus snacks. And unfortunately, when you do go cheaper, you're not going to have those things included. So that does stink a little bit, but that just requires you to do a little extra planning and bring snacks with you, which is what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. Oh, boy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like something else to...
It's really funny because Josh and I had talked a couple days ago about doing a podcast at home before we, you know, packed up and left for this trip. And I said, you know, we can do it this day, we can do it this day, whatever. Like, I'll get ready, we can do it on the couch. Oh, yeah, we'll do it. And then we didn't do it. And we kind of came up with some excuses, so we didn't do it. And then yesterday, he's like, I want to do a podcast in the car. I'm like, that's fine. I'll wear sunglasses. I'm not putting makeup on. Like, we're going to be driving in the car all day. And then I asked him right before we're about to start this podcast, so what's our topic today? Yeah, I'm not really sure. So we've been talking about doing this podcast for well over a week.
I know what I want to talk about. So, yeah, I love talking about controversial things. So,
yeah, you do.
As you guys, I'm sure, are well aware, because most of you are, you know, big-time Disney fans. They just sent the first, I think, like maybe 2 sailings. The second sailing actually is this week on Friday.
No, I think that's the third, actually.
Is it the third one?
I'm pretty sure.
So they've just sent a few sailings on the Magic, I believe. Is it only the Magic that's been there so far?
No, I think it was the Disney Fantasy.
The Fantasy? Okay.
Yeah.
Have been to the new, it's not an island per se, but it is a private beach destination.
It's technically an island.
I mean, I guess, yeah, I mean, it's in the Bahamas, so it's on an island, but it's not the entire island, though. They only have a small section of this. It's a private beach. It's kind of like Labadee in Haiti, with Royal Caribbean's Labadee, whatever they call it. But
well, I think the rest of the island is like for conservation.
No, a section of it is for conservation, but there's a whole extra piece of the island that is inhabited by
really
regular people. I'm almost certain.
Almost certain.
But with that being said, they have been just getting torn apart for the length of the pier that you have to walk out to get all the way over to where, like, basically everything is at.
Yes. And it's actually really funny because whenever I'm scrolling like TikTok or Reels or whatever, just like, seeing what other people are doing and looking at the people that we follow or looking on the For You page, whatever, it's funny because I'm only seeing videos from Lookout Key of either characters, meet and greets with characters because they got all new outfits there, or I'm seeing videos of how long the pier is.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing like anything else about what's at the island, which it kind of makes me a little bit sad because I want to see what's there. We actually had an opportunity to go and we're unfortunately not able to do that. So
the opportunity was literally this week over this sailing.
It was.
I had really wanted to cancel this cruise, but Taylor said no because we're going with Taylor's family.
I felt really guilty canceling on our family.
I felt perfectly fine canceling on them.
Did.
But yeah, so Disney actually invited us to go, and we literally emailed them back and said we're going to cry ourselves to sleep tonight because
we can't. Go.
we have something else already in the books. So which is funny. I don't necessarily everything that they told us that they would have taken care of for us as kind of like an influencer, right? Because that's what we would have been considered. Were like flights and transportation,
hotel the night before,
different things like that. There wasn't, I don't think, any mention of the cabanas, but what's really funny is that we've been seeing that the other people who were invited on the actual, the actual initial influencer sailings, because the one that we were invited to be on
was actually a DVC.
Yeah, it was a DVC thing, and I think they would have wanted us to push DVC. Which is fine, whatever. But it's funny because most of the people who got invited were given cabanas, which, believe it or not, are right next to the ship, so they don't have to walk
the rest of the way across the island. They have to walk the pier.
I mean, oh yes, you're right. They do have to walk.
Everybody has to walk the pier.
But then they don't have to go any further than that. So I just find that really funny. I'm actually kind of glad that we didn't end up going because it probably just would have been a lot of people kind of shoving by each other, holding cameras.
To get the best content.
Right, trying to hold cameras over their heads the whole time. So at some point down the road, will we make it there? Yes, of course. We love sailing on Disney.
Yeah, we do.
Regardless of what my thoughts are on the Wish.
Josh, I still love the Wish.
That's fine, and like I said, everybody is different, and everybody can like different things. Not everybody has to love everything.
I do like the old classic ships, though. Like, I love the fantasy.
I call them the legacy ships now. So, but I mean, we do. I mean, I love sailing on Disney. I will never stop sailing on Disney.
No, we won't.
So, unless they scrap, the fantasy, then maybe I will someday, but
they still have the magic and the wonder. They hate scrapping the fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I thought it was really interesting. I'd love to know what you guys, what your thoughts are. Obviously, you probably haven't been there yet. We haven't been there yet, so it's just an initial preview of kind of the things to come. But it is a really far walk, I mean, it's pretty long. I think what they will probably end up doing is they're going to have to maybe give in and put a tram there.
And if not a tram, I think it just needs some shade, honestly, because, Royal Caribbean's pier is not that long, but it has a lot of shade, and I think that really makes a big difference. I don't think people would have complained as much about Lookout Key's pier if it had cover, like shade. It almost kind of, like, is giving Animal Kingdom, how there's, like, no, Epcot. It's giving Epcot how there's, like, no shade at Epcot. Animal Kingdom feels hot because of all the, like, trees and vegetation.
No air movement.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Obviously, I I think that they'll end up doing something. I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't think that you can't have at least a tram or, canopies, because that's what Royal Caribbean has at Perfect Day Coco Cay are
Honestly,
canopies.
This is how everything goes. When something opens new for the first time, like there's always things that they've got to tweak and fix. I mean, just think about the theme parks. Whenever like new lands have opened and new attractions have opened, they've had to tweak and fix things. Like Rise of the Resistance, think about that. It was going down constantly, and people were getting so mad because they would wait or they'd get up super early, but then they basically figured out what the one problem was, and they just had too many things running in this one section, so those like cannon things, they don't move anymore, and now the ride never goes down. So like it's just little things that they've got to figure out when something opens initially.
I don't think a very fair comparison, but
No, but I'm just saying, like, Disney will fix whatever
who
problems
was
are.
in the design here that didn't think we should put something up on that pier for people to, this isn't Europe. People in America aren't used to walking.
No, they're not used to walking, and they're not used to being just out in the hot sun all the time.
And I don't mean any offense to anybody out there who may be offended by that comment, but it's a fact. It's a fact. I mean, when you go to Europe,
you can walk
the
everywhere.
cities are designed to be, for the most part, the cities are designed to be very walkable.
Yes, and actually a lot of the like small towns, big cities, whatever, they were all originally designed to be able to get to like the markets.
Right.
Like everything was built around markets so that you could go and get your groceries like day of. So the US is not built like that.
Yeah, so
we are built to be a very drivable country.
So I mean, I agree. I do agree. I think at some point they're going to do something about it, but how soon is it going to be before they do that? And I think it'd also be really funny if they're like,
It's like Toy Story Land. It's like Toy Story Land. Remember, there was no coverage in Toy Story Land, and people were waiting and waiting and waiting for Slinky Dog Dash with no coverage, and people were getting so upset.
Right. So Disney did something very cheap, and they just went and stuck a bunch of umbrellas out there.
They did,
I mean,
but still.
I think at some point they will be like, oh, well, we were going to put these up, we just hadn't gotten around to it, which just makes them look even worse because they're just canopies. Just put them up, now. I know, but it's just, I think it's interesting. It's a brand new place.
I don't like to be a negative Nancy. If you've watched us for long enough, you know that I don't like to be a Debbie Downer. I don't like to be a negative Nancy. Josh does not really have a preference of what he likes to talk. Like,
but the thing is, like, let's be honest with ourselves here.
No, I am being honest. I said that, like, literally everything I see on TikTok is of the characters or of the pier. And the pier, Josh forgets that I need to talk into the microphone, too, because he's going to tell me later, you didn't talk into the microphone. Well, you held it far away from me. But yeah, like, I think it will get fixed one way or another, whether that's putting in multiple trams or putting in shade. Because, I mean, think about Serenity Bay. You can walk back and forth to Serenity Bay at Castaway Cay. However, there's also a tram. And there is no coverage to get to Serenity Bay if you walk there. It's a hot, long walk. We have done it. But now I make Josh take the tram because it's much more convenient.
I kind of wonder what is the distance on Castaway Cay from the ship to that first tram stop in comparison to...
It's not that far.
In the comparison to... now the new pier at Lighthouse Point or whatever they call it.
Well, I guarantee you that people that are making videos and posting on social media, I guarantee you, just because I can tell by the angles, because I shoot on 0.5 a lot, I think a lot of people are shooting like on the 0.5, so it makes the pier look probably twice as long as it actually is. Don't get me wrong, I know it's long. I've seen like the pictures and watched POV videos of people walking down. I think it's like at least a 10-minute walk down the pier. I think somebody timed it. It's like 11 minutes and some seconds. Walking at a good speed.
That is pretty far. Like for an average person to walk 10 minutes. I mean that is kind of far.
I've also seen other people saying, well, you go to Walt Disney World and you walk 20 minutes through a park without stopping and don't complain about that. Which is fair, but you're also not in the direct sun in the Bahamas.
Perspective, though, you have a lot of things that distract you while you're making that walk from point A to point B. I mean, it is. I know that I absolutely hate doing Caribbean cruises in the summertime.
It's so hot.
I mean, when we did the
It is
Wish
so hot.
back in August of 2022,
This cruise is going to be hot when we get to Perfect Day.
when we did the Wish cruise back in August of 2022, when we went to Castaway Cay, like, I couldn't be out there on the island, like, for very long. I mean, it was just unbelievably hot.
We, like, hid in the shade or in the water, like, the whole day because it was so hot.
So, I mean, like, that's, you know, in the morning, probably not a big deal, but definitely once you start coming back to the ship, that, I mean, people are going to be upset about it. But, you know, for me, I don't care. I have no problem walking, so I will walk that all the time.
I would be hot and I would probably complain about it, but I would still be able to walk it.
Yeah.
It just stinks, but I don't want to continue to dwell upon it. I would like to see people that have been there make different content and stop posting about the stinking pier, because I know, and everybody else knows, I want to see something else. I want to see what's on the actual island. I want to see what the food looks like. I want to see what the beach looks like. I think I've seen one video of the actual water itself, and I want to see more of what's on the actual island. I don't necessarily watch YouTube videos on it. I'm just scrolling TikTok because I can watch quick, short videos. But, like, give me some content I actually want to see. I don't care about the pier any longer. I already know. But I've heard that the water is really crystal clear blue. Oh, and I did hear that they had to make the pier that long because of the reefs. That was like it was like some deal with the Bohemian government that the ship had to be a certain distance away from the island because of the reefs that surround the area, which is fair, but us as entitled tourists paying Disney money to go on a cruise, we don't want that. So
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because it's something else that's been going on, and I thought it was worth talking about. Yeah. So yeah, and the Treasure now is going to be setting sail in
very soon.
July.
Very soon.
Is it June? Is it this month?
I can't remember.
Or July. So, you know, and hopefully that initial sailing, those inaugural sailings, will be much better than they were on the Wish.
Yeah, I know my mom has some plans going on the Treasure this summer. Yeah,
where the Wish was, it was sailing and was not complete. There were a lot of issues with it, so hopefully the Treasure will be a lot better.
The Wish was complete. It was.
No, it wasn't. When it first
complete.
There was things were not fully painted. The ceilings were not completely done. Oh, there was a lot of issues with it. Go back and look. Yeah, there was a lot of issues with it.
And they even delayed it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Huh.
So hopefully the Treasure now, you know, we're a few years out of.
Yeah, maybe they got it figured out from the Wish.
Right.
Because the Treasure is basically a sister ship. It's going to be very similar in layout.
Yeah.
But obviously some of the design will look a little different.
Yeah, it's now the Fantasy of the Dream and Fantasy combo, right? Yeah. So it'll be doing 7-night sailings. The Wish will continue doing their 3- and 4-night sailings out of Fort Lauderdale. Yep. And we've not sailed out of Fort Lauderdale either. That would be.
No, but I have a feeling we're probably going to end up doing that at some point, since a bunch of the Disney ships are going to be sailing out of there now.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think I had mentioned. I can't remember when we had talked about it, but I think I was talking about on the live stream that I did from Magic Kingdom the other day.
Oh, I was working.
Which was that, you know, we really would love to do a Disney cruise in Europe. We were hoping to do one this summer with a really cheap rate, like a travel agent rate.
One of our agents just got back from a Disney cruise in Europe. Yeah, I saw her posting about it.
We were hoping to get on one of those. They do have a few things that are available, but with our schedule, we weren't able to make it work. So hopefully now next summer, with the Fantasy being in Europe and not the Dream, hopefully we'll be able to do that. I mean, I'd love to be on the Dream. We've never been on it before, but
I know I really want to get on the Dream and the Wonder just to say we've done them all.
But the Fantasy is my favorite. So if we can get a really great,
we did try to get on the Dream this past year, but it just timing didn't really work out for us.
Yeah, essentially when we were in Scotland, Taylor's like, she's like, I have to get back on a Disney cruise because it's been almost 2 years since we've been on one. Yeah. Because the last cruise that we did was November, December of 2022. Yeah. Where we did a wedding on board the Fantasy. And so, you know, we were like looking around at, you know, maybe some discounted rates if there were any. and I really, really wanted to do the dream in Europe because I was like, for the price that we're paying, maybe we can offset that with the price of flights if we could find some cheap ones we couldn't. So last minute. So we found the Wish, and that's why we ended up doing the Wish. So we do have some time kind of opening up here in the next couple months. Maybe we'll see if we can squeeze something in there.
That would be nice. We have a decently busy wedding season for our photo and video business, JTR Media. So we have in previous years, we had, obviously you have your Saturday weddings, but Disney weddings, you just never know what day of the week they're going to end up being. So in past years, we had a lot of weekday weddings, which is kind of a little easier for our schedule. But now this year, majority of our weddings, whether they're in Disney or not, are weekends. We have 2, I think, weekday wedding. 3, no, that's next year. 2 weekday weddings this year, and literally all the rest of our weddings this year are on Saturdays. So it's a little more difficult for us to do longer trips this fall, because we're going to be busy with capturing weddings, photos and videos. So I'm really excited. We just did a really cool session at a hotel a couple weeks ago. They wanted to do like this, to me, it's just like giving kind of like old Hollywood, but it's not necessarily. It's just like this trend that people have been doing, like engagement photos in a hotel with like a nice, like white, cute little dress and like a suit, and they turn out really cute. And I would hope to do some more of those at some point. But I'm really excited to capture lots of weddings this year. Yeah.
Speaking of Disney, I just got a notification that the Critter Co. shop has opened.
What is that?
At Magic Kingdom. I think maybe that's the shop. Are they calling that
Tiana?
the shop at Tiana's? Yeah. So you could go and get some Tiana merchandise from in there. I'm sure that's going to be a long line for people to go and try and sell
Why didn't I get this email?
On eBay. It wasn't an email. It was a YouTube notification.
Oh, so. I was gonna say, I'm like, I don't see an email. Yeah. Normally we get like Disney emails.
So I think this might be a shorter podcast. I think our battery is going to start running low here, and we're going to probably lose it again. So we're going to wrap this one up, and hopefully for our next podcast, maybe we can do it from on the ship and kind of talk a little bit about the symphony and how things are going so far. I don't know. We'll see. We're definitely going to do a Patreon podcast here as well. That's exclusive just for our Patreon members who support us each and every month. And if you can't support us through Patreon, which is totally and perfectly fine, please take the time and leave us a comment and share this with a friend. That is also one of the best ways that you can help support us and help us grow with our channel. And also, if there's something specific that you'd like us to talk about, there's something specific you'd like to see out there in the world, we are always trying to see new destinations.
I've got a long bucket list, but it grows and changes basically daily. So
yeah, I really was not wanting to do this cruise that we are doing. Full disclosure,
Why do you keep saying that? Why do you keep bringing it up?
Because we have been to the Bahamas and the Caribbean so many times. So
it's still going to be fun.
I'm not saying it's not going to be fun, but we're always trying to do other and different things. And that's how we try to spend our money, is by doing it with different stuff, So if there is some type of destination out there, whether it's an all-inclusive, a cruise, maybe a new ship, or some type of road trip, that you would love to get more information about or see something more about, if we can kind of put it together and do it, we will definitely do it, because we always love trying to find something new and exciting to do, because you should be trying to do something new and exciting every day yourself. Yeah. So thanks for watching, everybody. My name's Josh.
And my name is Taylor.
And this is Travel with Josh and Taylor, the travel podcast. We'll see you all next week or tomorrow or whenever you might be listening to this.
Or if you're not watching the video, you'll hear us in the next one.
Bye-bye.